So the problem is that even if your pricing is identical to the next guy's who's also submitting an estimate for this job, even with that identical pricing, if your estimate is lazy, vague, unstructured, or feels unprofessional, you're losing work to that other guy because he's better at nothing more than simply presenting a better image and writing better estimates. So instead of wasting a lot of time, I'm going to take you right over to my computer. We're going to sit down and I'm just going to take you step by step by step through my proven process. All of my estimates get accepted. It's very rare that anyone ever says no, and my prices are high. So I'm going to take you step by step in my software through my process. We're going to build an estimate together, and then you're going to be able to learn how to structure these so that your clients really are enticed to say yes to you. All right, guys, so here we are in my Jobber software here. Now, you don't have to use Jobber. You can take all these things I'm going to teach you and apply them to any CRM platform, but I happen to be on Jobber. So if you want to follow along, there's a link in the description for you to get a free 14-day trial that comes with my exclusive discount. Otherwise, just pull up whatever other software you're in and see if you can find sort of the same basic functionality to use with your software to follow my process. So when I'm showing y'all anything in Jobber, I'm always starting from this home screen here. So what we're going to do is we're going to click this Create button at the top, and then we're going to click on Quote. And you can either use a template. Now, I'm making a template here. That's for a different project. But we're just going to go ahead and click Create New Quote, and we're going to do this from scratch. First thing you got to do is pick your client. So I'm going to open this up. Now, I don't want y'all to see all of my people down here, so I'm not going to show you. But I created a new client just for this. So we've got Bob LLC up here. And the very first thing I'm going to do on these quotes is I'm always just going to copy the address and paste it into that title line. That's always going to make this really searchable in the future. So I've got the address pasted up in the job title line, and I'm just going to say estimate here. Next, over here on the right, these are all custom fields over here on the right that I've added to the software myself. So y'all aren't going to have these fields, but if you've added custom fields, go ahead and fill them out. If you haven't, then maybe you just don't need them. So let's scroll down, and this is basically the body of your quote. Now we're getting into the meat of everything. So before we start with our actual products and services, let's set up an introduction by clicking on that button there, and we're going to go ahead and say upload image. Now, I'm going to upload basically a random image for this, but you guys should be uploading into this introduction pane some sort of image that's going to make people feel really good about your business. It could be a picture of you with your truck. It could be a picture of multiple completed projects all strung together, or it could be maybe you with your family and your employees all with your arms around each other in front of your business storefront or something. But put a nice happy picture here at the top. And then after you get the picture uploaded, we're going to come down to this title block. And what I suggest putting in the title block is just a basic summary of the job. So let's make one up, and let's say Duke Household Laundry Room Remodel. How about that? So that's just a basic name for what we're doing. And then in the description, you're going to basically give a very brief outline of the work to be done. Now, you're going to come down here into products and services and add a lot of different line items that's going to detail this project. This introduction section right here, the description here, is going to be a super basic outline of just how you expect this work to flow. And keep in mind here in the introduction, because it's the beginning of this quote, this is a really great spot for you to just remind the tenant or the client or whoever you're doing this work for how excited you are to do this job for them. This is a good spot to sell yourself. So I tell you what, just to have something in here, I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste some notes that I was making about this section earlier. So there we go. We've got our introduction section made. Next, we're going to come down here to our products and services. This is all of our line items, and this is where we're going to actually proceed to break all of this down. And I'm going to show you basically 3 separate ways that we're going to do this. So the first way that we're going to break it down, and this is probably going to be the most common way, is just simply going to be labor and materials. And the way you'll do that is you'll just say labor for the title of this line, and then you'll come into the description block and you'll just type out the description of the labor you're doing. Now, this is going to be for sort of really small jobs. This is going to be for basic stuff like maybe replacing an exterior door, and you're just going to give a description, line item, maybe bullet point it, 1 bullet point at a time with some space in there, so it doesn't appear to just be one long run-on sentence. But give a description of your labor, do another line item and say materials, and then again, just come in here and list out all of the materials, and then you can come over here to the right and you can put your pricing in for both of those. That's the simplest way to use this software. There's nothing wrong with that for, let's say, small, simple jobs similar to replacing an exterior door, or maybe taking out a sink from the kitchen and putting a whole new sink and new faucet in. Stuff that's very contained, that takes like less than a day and doesn't include lots and lots of different tasks. And we'll go ahead and delete that, so we're back to one line item here. And then the next way that we might do these is going to be phased. So imagine if we're doing a full kitchen remodel. So phase 1 might be demolition. Phase 2 might be some drywall work. Phase 3 might be some flooring work. Phase 4 might be getting the actual cabinets in. Phase 5 is going to be countertops. Phase 6 is going to be appliances and faucets and plumbing and hooking everything up. Phase 7 is going to be a backsplash. Phase 8 is going to be sort of touch up and clean up and fresh paint all around. So you can phase everything out. And you can literally just come in here for the first line item and say, phase 1 demo. And then come into the description and type out all the demo. And then add a line item, which you do just by clicking this button here, and just say phase 2 drywall. Let's put a dash in there, make it look nice and professional. There we go. So that's the second way you can use this, is to just go in here and make each line item represent a new phase with plenty of detail within that phase. And my tip to you is going to be, if it starts getting really, really, really long and it's like a page just for one phase, split that phase up, you know, make that a new phase 1 that's just half of that. And then phase 2 is going to be the other half of the demo if it's taken too long and it's taken up too much space. So that's the second way to do this. And then I'm going to show you what, for me, is the most common way that I use this software. So the most common way that I'm doing estimates most of the time is either going to be for full interior paint, in which case I use that first method, which is just labor and then a line for materials. But the second most common thing I'm doing is move outs or just properties with big punch lists. There's just 12 or 15 or 20 things to fix, and I need to give them a price for each individual thing on that list. So let me show you how I do that. I actually have custom line items for this. So I'm going to click on this and I'm just going to type in trip. And right up comes trip fee, comma, move out. And I can just click on that. Quantity 1, price is already auto-filled. By the way, all of these line items, if you guys do use Jobber, all of these line items that I have in my account, which is, I mean, 100 to 200, easily over 100, probably getting close to 200 individual custom line items that I've built out that are descriptions along with the pricing for each of these tasks. All of my line items you can download. If you go to the description of this video or any of my videos, you can download from the very bottom of the description. There's a click to link and you can get my custom line items from my Jobber account in a CSV file. And then you can go into your Jobber account and upload my custom line items into your account. Now, I don't suggest that you just simply use mine exactly how they are. You should read through them, you should adjust the wording, you should add some, you should delete some, you should make the pricing match your business, your clients, your region. Don't just copy and paste whatever I do, but it's going to give you a really solid foundation to start out on. But anyways, the first line item for any of these for me. Now, if it's not a move out technically, then I'm going to go ahead and delete that, and maybe this is an onboarding instead of a move out. Maybe it's a vacant property that nobody just moved out of, but still it's vacant and it needs a lot of work done. Or maybe it's tenant occupied, but the tenant's going to be out of the country and you're going to be doing a lot of stuff. Any number of reasons that you're working on these big properties. But the point is this first line item is a trip fee that does not cover any work. I'll read it out loud to you. This line item covers the trip fee for a move out and includes the following: admin, receiving, assigning, parts ordering, invoicing. Also includes drive time, inspecting and measuring, trips for acquiring materials, and general cleanup and waste disposal. So basically what this is this is a line item that covers everything except time spent at the property on the job with tools and materials in hand, knocking out the work. So because I've got this line item in here, I've covered all of my drive time and my shopping and everything, and now I can just simply price for whatever it takes to do those individual tasks. So let me show you how I choose to do that. And the way I do that is I use optional line items for this. And the reason they're optional is because if the client doesn't have the budget for everything they've asked you to do, then instead of asking you for a discount or asking you to rewrite the entire estimate to remove things, they can just simply click on what they want to approve and what they don't want to approve. So they ultimately are in control of the final scope and price of this job. So I use my optional line items. Now, I will say, To use optional line items with Jobber, you do have to have the Grow plan or above. Personally, I think the price is well worth it. That's actually what got me into the Grow plan when I first started. But for the optional line items, I'm going to show you some examples of what I do here. So let's say we have 2 pop-up stoppers and 2 different bathroom sinks. I'm going to type, again, because I have these custom line items, pop. So there we go, right at the top, labor, comma, pop-up stopper, comma, vanity sink, comma, repair, replace. So I'm just going to click on that. It's already got the description in there for me. Change the quantity to 2. It updates the pricing over here. Now you might notice it did not update the subtotal down here. It still says 125. That's because this first one was not an optional line item. It was just a regular line item. So the first one, 125, that's definitely down here. As an optional line item, it's not going to add that price to your subtotal unless you click recommend item. Once you've clicked recommend item, it's going to add that to your subtotal. Now, as you might notice, this says labor, pop-up stopper, vanity sink, etc., etc. So we need another line item here. We need materials. So I clicked on add optional line item right there. I clicked on that. Let's type pop again. And then there's materials, pop-up drain kit right there. And again, quantity 2. So now we've covered the labor and the materials for the pop-up stoppers. What's next? Let's click optional line item again. Actually, let's recommend that. We got a new optional line item. Now let's say, how about some door stops? DOORST, and then boom, labor, comma, doorstop, comma, install, $8 each with a description. Maybe there's 8 of those in this house, $64. Recommend line item, add optional line item, and DOORS, and we need materials, comma, doorstop right here, $5 each, quantity 8, updates the price to 40, recommend item, and as you can see, our subtotal's just going up from here. Let's add another optional line item. Let's just scroll down and pick one. How about labor, comma, light fixture, comma, pre-assembled, comma, replace, install, $100. There we go. Now, this particular one isn't going to have a corresponding line item for materials because we don't have set pricing for just general light fixtures. They're all going to have their own. So for this one, we're going to add optional line item, but we're going to actually estimate the cost of this light fixture. So let's say materials, light fixture. And then the descriptions, this is going to be, how about a vanity light fixture, a 5-bulb vanity light fixture. So we'll say one new like kind vanity light fixture with 5 bulbs. There we go. That's good enough for what I do. Now, if you need to describe things more in depth, please do. For my purposes, that's going to be more than enough description for my property managers. So we're going to do one of those, and we went and looked up the price, and maybe it was $47. So we've done that one manually, but it's still optional. So I think you can see the pattern now, guys. The pattern is that now we just keep going down this list, and we just keep adding line items one at a time until we've covered all the line items that they've asked us to perform maintenance on at this property. So at this point, I do want to point something out to y'all. If you notice, there's nothing about hourly in here. Nowhere in this entire estimate have I implied that I do anything hourly. Now, I will tell you the way I figure my pricing is my time is worth, at minimum, even for the lowest unskilled jobs, my time is worth at minimum $100 an hour, and so is yours if you're running a professional business. I'm probably closer to $125 to $150 an hour these days, but my pricing is based off of that. But what I want to point out is nowhere in here have I sold them labor by the hour. I'm going to knock all this work out as fast as I can, and the better I am at bringing the right materials, bringing the right tools, and having all my stuff together in such a way that I have systems and processes and I can get in and get out with all the work done. The better job I do of that, the more money I make on a per hour basis, which is why I never charge hourly. But moving on, the next thing that I want to show you here is that you can just simply add text. So when you just add text, this is generally for notes, and I'm just going to type notes in there, and I'm going to type a description of whatever the notes are, like, hey, while I was at the property, I noticed it looked like it could use a full coat of fresh paint top to bottom. If you'd like an estimate for that, please let me know and I'd be happy to get you an estimate. Whatever notes that you want to put in here that don't come with any pricing. And then another little thing I want to show you that I didn't show you up top here is going to be that you can add pictures to each of these. So for every line item that you put in there, for example, I can add this picture to this line item, and then I can add pop-up stopper here. So look, there's a picture of a pop-up stopper. I can add that. Materials for pop-up stopper. And we can also add that. Door stop. Actually, I don't have any pictures for door stops, but I have, light bulbs and smoke detectors and whatnot. You can add pictures to each of these for them to see either what it is that you're providing, or maybe you did an inspection and you're sending an estimate for what you found wrong. And for each of these line items that you give them for things that you found when you were expecting, you're giving them the picture of the thing that's actually broken so they can see what you're talking about. But you can add pictures to each of these. Again, I think you have to be on higher plans for a lot of this. I don't know. I've been on the Grow plan now for 3.5, maybe almost 4 years. As soon as I got Jobber, I quickly saw the value in these optional line items and upgraded to the Grow plan. So some of this may not be available on the lower plans. Make sure you look and see what each plan will give you before you choose a plan. Okay, so we've got all of our line items done, hypothetically anyways. Let's say we want to do a discount, like a veteran's discount. You can, I don't even know if I did that too quick for y'all to see it, but right under subtotal is the discount line. Click the percentage button, and if you want to do a 10% discount, you can do 10%, or you can click the dollar button, and then it's a $10 discount. So dollars or percentages, whichever one you feel most comfortable with. And then come all the way down to the bottom here, and let's add a required deposit. And again, you can do a dollar amount deposit or a percentage-based deposit. Pretty standard to ask for 50% down. So typically, if I'm doing a deposit, I'm doing percentage-based at 50% down. And that takes care of the body. We've said what all of the work is that we're going to be doing. We've got all of our line items. Double check it and make sure, if you have 8 door stops for labor, make sure you have 8 door stops for materials, and you don't forget to change that to an 8, and then you send it with 1, and then you didn't charge enough money. So double check all your quantities and stuff before you move on. And then down here, after we've done the deposit and everything, we can add some more sections. So there's a few things that we have going on here. Number one is, as you can see, this says reviews right now. What this is Jobber attaches to your Google business account, and it will pull your Google reviews from your Google business account. And you can also, by the way, you can click this edit button, and you can go in and actually choose which reviews you want to show and which reviews you don't want to show. You can have a total of 3. So your reviews, those are going to be on there unless you remove them. You can click that X and remove them if you just don't have good reviews to show. And then as far as adding sections now, there's 2 more things we can add. One of those things is going to be attachments. And attachments are files. Attachments aren't intended to be pictures, although they can be. But this is where you're supposed to upload your files. So this can be PDFs. This can be a Word document with your terms and conditions for your business. It could be literally anything at all that you want it to be, but you can put your files, your Word documents, your PDFs, PowerPoints, whatever it is, you drop them here in your selected files. So let's go ahead and select a file to put in here. And for me, I'll do Property Manager Packets. And let's do one more. Let's add my scheduling template. But we can pretend like this is my terms and conditions or whatever it is that we want to provide to these potential clients. So we've got our files uploaded, and then we have another add section. We can add images. So let's add images. And you can kind of guess what adding images is going to be for. This is basically for images of you and your business, work that you've done. Let's pick, we'll do this one, this one, this one, and this one, and this one. There we go. So I'll open these up in here, and what I'll do is I'll just take you to the client view so you can see what all of this looks like when you're all said and done. But your images can be your logo, it can be completed work, in-process work, pictures of your business, you and your family, whatever you want it to be. Make sure it's always happy stuff, though. Definitely do that. So I'm not going to show you the client view just yet. We have one more thing to do here, which is going to be the client message. And something I want you to know about this client message is you can go up into your settings here, and you can go into your business's settings, and you can create a client message that's going to be a template message that's always there. I don't recommend doing that. I really think you should type out personal messages to each of your clients. So as an example here, let's see, do I have... Yeah, how about this? Let me copy and paste this real quick. Copy, paste, put a little space here, and I'll just say, thanks so much for asking us to complete your job. Now, you're going to write more. You're going to say, Amanda, it was absolutely amazing to meet you and your wonderful, well-behaved children. You have a beautiful home, and I truly can't wait to get started on making it even more beautiful for you. Something like that. You want to really make this a personal message to the client. I'm just going to say thanks so much for asking us to complete your job, and then I'm going to type, below you'll find a brief summary of our terms and conditions. For comprehensive terms and conditions, please refer to the downloadable document provided above. Why do I say that? Because up above here, one of these documents that I put in hypothetically in my actual Jobber account is going to be my actual terms and conditions. So that's going to be up there. But then down here on the contract/disclaimer, which shows up next, which also you can go into the settings and just upload this one time so that it autofills as it did on this one every single time. And you're going to say up here, below you'll find a brief summary of our terms and conditions, which is what's right here in the contract or disclaimer section. And then you're just referring them up there. You know, if you want to read the whole big, long, boring one, that's up here for you. And then this is all automatic. This is just, you know, cancellations and rescheduling, warranty, site conditions and access, when payment is due, etc. And then finally, internal notes. I'm not going to add anything to internal notes, but what you need to know about internal notes is internal notes will always stay internal to you and your company. The client will never see this if you don't purposefully go out of your way to give them access to it. So if this is a crazy lady, you can write in your internal notes, hey, this is a crazy lady. If it's a dog that barks and bites a lot, you can say that. Whatever you need to say inside your internal notes will stay internal unless you take additional steps to make them external. Okay, so now we're actually done with this quote. I'm going to click Save Quote real quick, and then we're going to go up to the top here, and we're going to actually take a look at this from the client view. So under More Actions, you can come down here and say Preview as Client. And when you open this up, you're going to see what your client is going to see. So this is what Bob will see when Bob gets this email saying that he's got an estimate he needs to take a look at. This is what actually pops up on his screen. It's got this header picture that you uploaded here. It's got your introduction, all of this. See, it looks nice and beautiful. And if we add pictures to everything, there will be pictures all the way down, all of the pricing. Bob can come through here, and I can't show you it because only Bob can actually click these. I can't click them for the client, but Bob can click on these check marks here and either approve or not approve each of these jobs. The subtotal is going to add up differently over here as he goes. When he gets to his attachments, he can click a Download All button, or he can click each individual attachment, download it to his computer. He's going to see all those images that you uploaded. He's going to see your reviews here. This is the best part, guys. If you have great reviews on Google, then he's going to see those here. And by the way, Jobber does have an extra marketing feature that sets you up to do automated emails to all of your clients. It sets it up so that all of your clients, when you complete jobs and they're paying their invoice, it directs them over to Google to leave reviews for you. And it does lots of other great marketing features. So that is an option if you end up on Jobber. But as you can see, like I said, it's got the images here. It's got your reviews. It's got your little personal message where you said, thank you so much for asking us to complete your job. Below, you'll find a brief summary of our terms and conditions, blah, blah, blah. Then there's all your terms and conditions. I do recommend making this even shorter. I threw this together on this separate demo account just to be able to show you guys how I do this, but I would shorten this terms and conditions even more, maybe about half this length, because you're going to have the rest of them up here inside your attachments. So one more time, let's just take a look at this full client view, because this is what your client's going to see. We're just going to look at this and just see how pretty and professional this looks all the way down. This is a well laid out, very understandable estimate here. Got your attachments, pictures, reviews, terms and conditions. Everything they need is there. Now, up here at the top, he now has a button that says Approve and Pay Deposit. That's the button he would click, and he can sign his name here. And he can sign his name here, click Sign, and then he can even, right here, as you can see, he can put his card information in right now and pay that deposit and be completely done with this. You're going to get that deposit. You're going to get an alert that says that the estimate has been approved and the deposit's been paid, and you can go ahead and get this job scheduled. So let me go ahead and close this out now. And just another little extra tip here, guys, is be thorough with your descriptions, and specifically be thorough about how you're going to take care of their house. Don't just tell them that you're going to do demo. Tell them how you're going to protect the floor during the demo. Tell them how you're going to try to keep the dust from escaping the kitchen and getting into the rest of their house during the demo. Go into detail not just about the work that you're going to do, but about how you're going to do that work professionally, specifically. And like I said in the beginning, man, even at the same pricing, if you're not writing good estimates, you're losing work to somebody else who is. And they may not even be as good or better than you at the work, but if they're as good or better than you at writing estimates, they're taking all your clients from you right now. So don't forget, if you want any of my custom line items, you can go to the bottom of the description of this video or any of my videos, click on that link at the very bottom and fill out the information that you need to fill out, and you can get access to my custom line items that I actually use in my business from my Jobber account. And if you want a free trial of Jobber, there's also a link in the description for that. Otherwise, I love you guys. I hope you're out there killing it, and I'll see y'all on the next one.